Welcome to today's Mornings with Mayesh. I'm Yvonne Ashton, and today I am thrilled to be chatting with Angelina of Flur Studio, who is a Seattle-based florist. And she also might be looking a little familiar to you because she is also our first Mayesh Design Star of 2024. Her first three videos are focused all on retail flower shops and floral design. They're really great. So if you haven't checked them out, make sure you head over to mayesh.com to watch those, of course, after this live. Before I bring on Angelina, I just wanted to make sure that you guys are all aware of a few really exciting things. We also have a new design challenge happening this month, and I'll put the links in once I do the introduction. So we have a new design challenge. It's all about constant spry, guys. We want to see your constant spry inspired designs for the month of March, and you can get all the details again on our website. We also just launched a new blossom guide, guys. It's beautiful. Lots of really great care and design tips in it. So you definitely want to download that. And then I will be announcing a very exciting collaboration for a workshop very, very soon. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. I also wanted to give a reminder to all of our viewers today that if you can't stick around, totally understand that you guys are all really busy. So the recap with the video replay, show notes, and a podcast, so that way you can listen on the go from anywhere, will be available in a couple days up on our blog as well. If you have any questions, be sure to post them in the comments, and we will get to those as time permits. So without further ado, let me bring on Angelina. Hey, Angelina.
Hi, hello Yvonne. Hello
How are you
everybody.
doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So let's get started. First off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in the floral industry?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, a little bit of a long story, but I'll try to keep it short and simple. Hello, I am Angelina Prikhodko. As you can see, my last name kind of showcases a little bit of where I'm from. I was born in Pinsk, Belarus, so I am Belarusian, but I like to say I am Eastern European because that's just easier. I moved to Seattle when I was 8 years old, so very little. And I basically grew up here, but I still grew up a lot around the European culture because my family, my parents, obviously, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, they're all still here. So we still kind of kept that heritage here and that culture here. But I did grow up in the United States of America. So I kind of have a mix of both worlds in a way. I started exploring event decor and florals at the age of 15. But my mother will tell you that I actually used to always pick flowers for her in Belarus, which I actually didn't know until I opened Flur. So that was a secret that was nice to find out about. So yeah, I started playing around with flowers. So what I did was my dad would ask me to arrange flowers for my mom for like her birthday, for their anniversary, for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. And my mom is a very picky person, and she's also like a little bougie and luxurious. So I always had to use tropicals. And one, it was really hard to find here in Seattle. And two, I had no idea what I was doing. So that already was a challenge to it on its own. And so I really started working with like different vessels around the house and like trying to create these like large arrangements for her, and she loved them. And then on the side, I also did like birthdays and baby showers and bridal showers for like my friends and family, all for free. And then someone was like, oh, you should charge for this. And I was like, it's just a hobby. In our culture, like floristry is not really like a career, which is not true, obviously.
Right.
But that's just kind of the mindset I grew up with. And so I was like, no, I don't want to charge. That just feels a little weird to me, which I still have issues charging. But that's why I need like an accountant. But anyway, so that's kind of how I started with like event decor. It was like age 15, and I just very elementary like parties and stuff. Then at 18, I started working at Forever 21, which is actually where I gained a lot of customer service experience, manager experience, and visual merchandising. I was very into like dressing the mannequins and like making all these fixtures and displays. And I was like, wow, this is so fun. Like, I love doing it. And so
Yeah.
my manager saw that and she kind of like pulled that out of me. And I am eternally grateful for her, because that is when I discovered that I had the ability to be creative and administrative at like the same time, which is, I think, really rare. I'm very OCD, so it's almost hard to be creative, but I am creative. So like the combination of both was cool to watch at like this retail store. And then I quit and I went back to get my AA. I was like, oh, I feel like I'm a failure. I need to go back and get my basic degree, which that's not true. So it's just a mindset.
Right.
So I was working part-time, and then I still did events kind of like as a hobby on the side. So like Fridays, Saturdays, I would like do some kind of event or do flowers for somebody. Eventually, I graduated with my AA and I got a full administrative job at a local church. So, actually, a church I grew up in. And that actually inspired me to go back to school and really focus on my administrative like gifts and abilities. And so I was really good with like structures and business, and I just had it was just easy for me, but I wanted to get like that educational book knowledge on it. And so that job really inspired that, and that job also, the church really allowed me to like host events and like do all these decor things for them. So that was like a combination of both worlds. So then in 2018, I launched Angelina Grace, which I think some people remember me from Angelina Grace. It was like an event decor and floral design brand. Brand. That was my first time at branding. And a lot of people liked it, but it's really hard to build a business. Everybody knows this. So it wasn't like, oh, boom, everybody knows about Angelina Grace. It wasn't like that. And then plus 2 years later, it was COVID.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of flower pop-ups, which actually I suggest. A few florists have reached out to me while we've been doing the series, and I'm like, I really suggest, if you're a freelancer, you don't have enough money to do like a store, which it takes a lot of money and effort to do that. That wasn't even, I'll get to this, but that wasn't even my idea in the first place. Really do pop-ups, like reach out to a coffee shop. You can like do pop-ups at, or a restaurant, or maybe like a corporate office that you can like drop off flowers for, like get your name out there. And that's kind of what I did with Angelina Grace. So then when I tried to open Flur, like that brand transition was something that was so hard for me to like grasp, because I was like, oh my gosh, people know me as like Angelina Grace. How am I going to transition them into Flur? Which I actually think I did a pretty good job. I basically just like shut down Angelina Grace, but also like emailed and let everybody know that like we're transitioning to this new shop and this new brand. So, but that was really hard for me to do. I was so worried. I was like, I'm going to lose all these customers. Everyone's going to forget about me. They're going to think I closed down. But no, that wasn't the case. So in 2020, like amongst COVID, a lot of my like repeat customers, they were like, hey, everybody's closed, can you please make us some flowers? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem, why not? And then it got like pretty busy, so I was like, okay guys, we need an online system here. So I like launched my first ever like online like shopping store for flowers, which was so complicating. I like had to learn to code. Not
Yes.
my favorite thing. And so that became really popular, which also brought out that like Angelina Grace name too. And then, yeah, in 2021, I was like, I think something is going to happen. And I actually am getting my doctorate at right now. And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to like quit my job. I was still working at the church. And I'm going to see kind of like what I need to do. Maybe I need to like just focus on school for the next year. Absolutely no plans to open a store at all. And then lo and behold, like a few months later, I drive by this. I always like to drive by like studios or like available spots in the neighborhood, because, just in case, like I did still want like a floral studio, like a private floral studio.
Right.
And so I was driving by this place that is now my studio, and I was like, oh my God, it's for lease. I have to like see, like, what if it's available? And so that was a whole story in its own, like a miracle, honestly. I was not set to get the space at all, especially because I didn't have any commercial experience. But for some reason, I have been blessed and they allowed me to get into the space, and it has been my dream. It was like one of those things that you dream about and don't talk about, but then you walk in and you're like, "Oh my god, this was like in my dream." Like the colors and everything just aligned. I really wanted garage doors, and I have 3 garage doors. And so it just like worked out. And then actually, as I was prepping for this question, I was like, oh my gosh, like my career experience, my retail experience, my educational experience, and my European heritage, like really made Fleur. Like everything that I do at Fleur all comes from like all of these positions and all of this experience that I've done. So I wouldn't say that I was like, I woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to open a flower shop. No, I just kind of like kept living my life. I kept making like the right decisions, listening to my mentors. I was blessed with having like mentors that pulled out, like saw what I was good at and like pulled it out of me. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how I came into here. And so I wouldn't say it's like an epiphany, but kind of.
No, I love hearing that journey that you took. And, obviously
Yeah.
you transitioned from weddings into kind of retail only. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some tips on like kind of how to let things go, like when you're pivoting or thinking of change that may no longer align with whether it's your business style, your structure, or service that you want to be
Yeah.
offering?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am so bad at letting go. I want it to be like the florist that does it all. I want it to be like this fancy brand, like wedding florist. I want it to be a retail florist. I want it to be all of these. And then when I opened a retail store, I quickly learned that that is so hard to do. I think retail stores are like harder than weddings. Maybe because we're kind of open every day. It's not like you just have a wedding and then you're done.
Right.
Although no, not discrediting weddings. Weddings are so hard to do as well.
Yes.
But I still wanted to have weddings. So for the first year we did, but actually this year I decided to let go. And it was like this bittersweet goodbye. And the reason that I decided that was when I first opened Flur, it was like one of my top questions, like, hey, what do I do with like my wedding clients that still know that Angelina Grace does weddings? And so what I did was I made it like a rule to only take on wedding clients that aligned with my brand, which was also hard to do because I hate saying no. But I learned to like kindly be like, hey, this is a great mood board. This florist is actually really aligns with your mood board. I would recommend reaching out to them. Or I would say, like, we're not in the capacity, which we weren't in the capacity. We got booked like the first summer, like every weekend. So I was like, I'm so sorry, like, we can't help you. But what I learned was like, and I know a lot of florists talk about this now, like saying no and only saying yes to the clients that really complement your brand, because all florists do different styles and all
Right.
brides have different styles. Like if a bride wants to do very fun and whimsical things, there's a florist that's really good at that. So why would you go to another florist? And so it's cool to be able to just recommend another florist that you as a florist know, because that's like, it's not a loss to you. You're actually being kind by doing that. And so that's what I did the first year. And so the second year, it was a little bit harder for me to do that. Plus, because we're opening a second store, I was like, okay, I think I'm good with retail. Like retail is a baby on its own. I can't have two babies here.
Right.
I can't do weddings and retail. And I loved retail. Like I love everything about retail more than I loved everything about weddings. And so, like, we made a post and I was like, "Hey guys, like, I'm so sorry. We're not going to be doing full service weddings anymore. It was just way too hard to keep even employees at like going to the wedding and then also like staying open." So all of this just kind of was like, yeah, you need to let go. This is not part of, Fleur for now, maybe. Maybe eventually I'd love to like partner with someone who's really good at weddings and they can take it over and kind of like be Fleur branded, but I don't think I will be doing that. But what I do like offering is in Seattle, every wedding florist has a minimum, and they usually don't do like boutonnieres or just bouquets. And so that is a service we provide. So it's like the Fleur wedding collection, and we just provide bridesmaid bouquets, and boutonnieres. Just because also since COVID, everyone's eloping, and not that many people are doing extra florals or tables. They're more so eloping in like a courthouse or like in their backyard. And so it's nice to have that option where they can get like more of a bridal bouquet they want, but like from an actual floral shop versus like a grocery store or something else.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of that. I would, if I was like consulting a florist who is thinking about like letting go of something, I would just say, yeah, you should let go. If you're already having a feeling to let go of something, you should let go of it. But it's really hard to do.
So do you feel like you let go though, so because one, you love that part of the industry, so you really wanted to focus on retail, but
Yes.
was it also like a life balance choice as well? Because, as a business owner, is it hard just
Um,
to balance it all and do it all?
yeah, that's a good question. Um, I mean, it would take away from my Saturdays because right now we're not open Saturdays.
Right.
But again, because we're getting a second location, we're going to be open on the weekends. So I wouldn't say it really helped my work life. I mean, as a business owner, do you have a work life balance?
A
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Kind of. But
little bit.
yeah, yeah. But I think it was mostly because one, my brand, and two, like it was just I don't want to do something half-hearted. Like
Right.
brides don't deserve that. Brides deserve a florist who like is all in, like can do it and all this stuff, which I'm not saying I can't do it. It's just I love retail. I love doing like small little bouquets, and not small, but like bouquets or wrapped bouquets or vase
Yeah.
arrangements or like doing private parties. Like I love doing private parties, just like an arch or like a floor meadow. Like I would rather do that than like go and do like a large wedding, even though it's beautiful and obviously we can't do
Right.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally get that. Totally get it. So obviously you mentioned your Eastern European roots. How has that influenced your style of floral design?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna go back to my mother. She, all of this, everything that I am creative is all my mother. We grew up in a very funky household, and what I mean by funky is like we always had a lot of color on our walls. We always had like funky wallpaper. She always had like these funky vases in every corner with like preserved gestural like stems or whatnot. And I think being surrounded by that on a daily basis, at first it was kind of like, Mom, stop painting again, or like stop doing DIY again. And then I was like, oh, like this is her like creativity. This is how she expresses herself. And I think being surrounded around that and also like making arrangements for her and making parties for her really like sparked something, like because it's not an American sense of fashion that she has. She has a European, like true, like how it's like the mob wife era. That's like
Yes, I've
literally
seen
my
all the
mom.
posts.
Yeah, that's literally my mom, except she's like the Belarusian mob wife. She like loves fur and like loves all this jewelry, and she always dyes her hair and does like makeup, and she has all these like branded purses and shoes. And I think just growing up in that, I was like, oh, this is like who I am. This is like my culture, which is true. Like all my aunts dress like this as well. And like
Right.
my European friends dress like that. Sadly, I did love that. But then when I was in middle school, I was made fun of like dressing too out there, or you know, wearing jeans with like stitches on it or like sparkles on it, even though that's in now. Or like I always wore overalls and people thought that was weird. So then I like toned down my European heritage because I was kind of like embarrassed because it was like just this like trauma in a way. And
Being
then
a
when I
kid is
grew up,
tough. Yeah, I
yeah,
have a
no,
14 and
honestly.
10-year-old, so totally get that.
Exactly, exactly. But now that I grew up, I'm like, oh, actually, a lot of who I am and the way I think and the way I'm drawn to like certain styles or certain brands is very much European. And so even like making arrangements or doing parties, I always just had like a different kind of eye for it. It was more like my mom's eye. It wasn't like a standard. Okay, that's mean. I'm not saying standard. I'm saying like it wasn't like Seattle style. It was more just like European style, and you could kind of tell the difference. Even more so now because I have Fleur. In Europe, flowers aren't arranged like they are here. They are arranged like they are at Fleur. And so even that was just like mind blowing to me. I was like, why don't we have that here? Like, why don't we have these like cool looking flower shops here? Like, there's so many beautiful ones in Korea or like Australia. And I'm like, why are all the flower shops here more like whimsical and woodsy? Can there be a modern flower shop? And so I think all of that tied together was just like, I need to open a European floral store. So I think that's kind of, I hope that answers kind of, it's mostly my mother.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Okay, so you've mentioned brand several times, and obviously that's something
Yes.
that you're very, very passionate about. You went really in depth on brand identity and aesthetics in your first video that we
Mhm.
went live with.
Yes.
Um, I will post the link also for those who may not have seen that first video yet. You definitely should watch it. But can you talk a little bit about that and how you approach branding when you are setting out to create Flur?
Yeah. So when I was creating Fleur, well, one, I had to go from Angelina Grace to Fleur. So I really wanted to kind of do more of like a neutral tone. My old logo, it was more like gold and marble. And I wanted to create something that was more timeless, which actually one of my friends suggested. I wanted to create a logo that was timeless, that wasn't like gonna go out of style, that wasn't too funky or too like in the trends. So that was one of the steps I took. And then after I got my logo, that's when I started like doing all the other things, because logo really shows you your style. It shows you your colors, like you pick your colors right away. And from there, it's like a little bit easier. Again, like I was saying in the video, it's like a funnel. Like you have your logo, which is like the biggest part. And then from there, you have your colors. And then from there, you have like your website, your social media, your sticker colors, your ribbon colors, your paper colors, your all of that aligned, as far as like packaging and supplies. And then on the other hand, on the other side, there's flowers. So in Seattle, there's not like many tropical or like carriers of like high-end flowers. And I was like, oh, I really want high-end flowers. And so then I was like, oh, why not make Fleur a luxury like store, because that's like more high-end. And so
Right,
that's where that came from. So again, that's another decision in that funnel of branding. And so like literally every decision was just like, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense. This makes sense, to the point where it's like, oh, this is what Fleur is. Granted, when I first opened, like Fleur is not what it is now. There's a lot of, which I think we'll discuss later. There's a lot of things I wish I would have done then that I kind of spent too much money on and too much time on, like in between. But that's how you learn in life.
right,
But even like I wanted to create, like I wasn't trying to create a flower shop. I was actually trying to create a brand first. And then I created the flower shop from that brand. Like even Fleur, because I'm making it European and luxurious, Fleur is a French word. So that's already European. And then like the in-house music we play is French. Like I didn't want to play, what everybody else plays. I wanted people to walk in and be like, "Oh my gosh, like I feel like I'm somewhere else." And I
yes,
would be like, "Yes, you are." Like you're in
yeah,
Europe all of a sudden, in Seattle.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah, so that was like literally my goal and my rule. Like I wanted to create this escape for people, like to be creative, to like come and be inspired, and then to also be like, oh, this is how people, like European people, do floristry. This is cool. Like it's almost like a learning center, but not really. So that's kind of why branding is so important. um it just creates, it's kind of like your name. Like Angelina is my name, that's like my brand. And so that's kind of what I created for Fleur. Like Fleur is its own person, well, kind of, but its own like thing. And it's like a brand that I created that people can learn about, and they also see it like Ali says, see it like in the wild. They know that it came from Fleur.
Right.
Granted, there's like branding all over it, but still.
Yeah, but that's part of it. And I love like kind of what you
Yes,
talked about too with the music, and you could even take it, like, farther and do like a scent or something like that. It's just kind of
we
creating
do.
those, yes, like
Yes,
those layers of, and that's kind of those experiences that you do have at like more traditional like luxury brands or companies, and how
exactly.
they create like an experience for their customers. It's not just
Yes,
like they're buying flowers, they're buying an experience from you, which I think is amazing.
exactly. Yeah, it's like the sensory, like what you touch, smell, see, hear, like
Yeah.
the ribbon and the material they're touching, what they're seeing with their eyes, what they're smelling. Like we have scents in the store, even though flowers already smell good. Like we wanted to create this, yeah, luxury store experience, which is what you sense, hear, and smell when you walk into a luxury store like Dior or like Chanel
Hmm. Yes.
or even
I love it.
Nordstrom. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna move on and talk a little bit about kind of the social piece of it and kind of copying and things like that. I see a lot of people like, and especially in the florist forums, like with people can be frustrated and feel like, some underhanded things are happening. So in the era of social media, obviously it can be super easy to start emulating other designers you follow. And again, it might not be on purpose, might just be subconsciously. So, how would you encourage florists to really carve out their own niche and style, and find a balance between drawing inspiration versus copying other florists?
Yeah, yeah. So social media really created like a comparison imitation game here. And I feel like we're all kind of like fighting for attention in a way.
Right.
But this is a rule I made personally for myself. I think that also stems from a European culture. Like we all want to like stand out and be our own person. But my rule was I didn't want to copy any florist in Seattle. That was like one of my biggest rules. If I saw anything that was like similar to what I was thinking about, like even before we were open, I automatically was like, nope, this person does it. We're not doing this. And I think that rule in the beginning kept playing and playing and playing in my head. And so that is probably also why we stand out as much as we do. But now I'm seeing like because we stand out, people do want to be more like either us or other florists. And so I was like, oh, let me go back and see kind of like what I did to make sure that I wasn't doing this. And so something that I would encourage for florists is obviously I understand that like there are florists that you are like, oh my God, I love this idea. I want to do this idea. And I understand that I have been in that place and I know. And so what I did was one of the things is don't copy any florist within your zip code or within even your state. That's like one of my rules. And if you do copy someone or imitate somebody,
Right.
um, try to just take their idea, but make it yours. So like tie it in with that first initial branding video. Like, how can you make their idea more like Flur? Let's say if it was me. Or so that would be one thing. Another thing I would do is I would find someone you admire out, like literally don't follow anybody in Washington state or whatever state you're on. Follow people in other states, even other countries, and then take only one idea from one florist or one idea from each florist that you like versus taking all the ideas from one florist. You know what I'm saying? So then you're not like actually imitating the exact florist. You're taking a little bit from each one that's not in your state and you're creating that in your state, but also making it your own. So don't just like, for example, everybody loves our newspaper. And so like if I were to just go and take newspaper and just do it for me, people would probably kind of tell that you took it from whoever florist if they follow it. But if you're taking the newspaper and then let's say, for example, wouldn't it be cool if like we all of a sudden, like if I opened a new store and I really wanted black newspaper, like it's not copying me, but it's very similar to me, but it's my like branding. Or let's say someone wants to do I don't even know. Like there's so many things out there. You could still copy
Right.
because obviously all florists still use flowers. That doesn't mean you're copying, or all use paper. That doesn't mean you're copying, or ribbon. But try to find how it complements your brand first versus just taking kind of what you see on social media because you love it. You can love it, but still like respect that florist or that artist even, and imitate them in a different way. Another thing is, I actually was thinking about this yesterday. You don't have to some of my ideas didn't actually come from floral shops. They came from coffee shops, restaurants, and traveling like to other boutiques or like other areas. And then all of my packaging is from Gucci or like Dior because like
Right.
that's how they do the unbranding. And I didn't steal that from a florist. I stole all those ideas from Gucci and Dior, and I'll admit it. But it's not similar. Like I took that idea of unpacking and I
Right.
made it Flur. Like I made ribbon that was Flur. I made stickers that were Flur. I made custom paper and like our box that was Flur. Yeah, it's similar to like the Gucci boxes, but it's like a it's mine, you know? So kind of like that. Or in the studio we have this coffee menu that we created. I actually stole this idea from a restaurant in Arizona. They had this cocktail menu where everything was watercolored or like drawn, all the ingredients in the cocktail. So let's say the cocktail had like cucumber, a garnish, and something else. It would be like watercolored, like on the paper. And so we created a coffee menu like that. And so my assistant actually like hand drew like this menu. And so now we have like this leather bound menu that has like the drawing of all the ingredients that go into our coffee drinks. And then I was like, wait, we can do this with like our flower menu. So now my idea is like creating like this watercolor menu where it shows like the vessel or like the paper and then all the ingredients that you can choose from that go into this. And this is not from a florist. This is an
Right.
idea from a restaurant I was sitting in. So like take ideas like if you don't have, I don't know, extra time or money to spend on traveling, literally go travel in your own city. Like I'll go to Seattle downtown all on like a Saturday or a Sunday. I'll go visit some boutiques and I'll look at their product like, oh, this is a cool way they package, or oh, this is a really cool like cup holder, or this is a really cool vessel. Like, how can I incorporate this into Fleur and make it my own?
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's what I would suggest. Like, yeah, you can imitate. It's not a problem. Just like be cautious, be kind. Obviously, give credit where it's due, but then also take ideas from other businesses. Like there's so much out there. And even then, like there's so much online, like from
Yeah.
Pinterest or from, wherever. You can get so many ideas, website ideas or like anything. Like you can get it anywhere now. It's like
Yeah.
so available. Even looking through like actual physical magazines, like an interior magazine or whatever. Like you can get so many ideas out there. But just like be kind when you're imitating somebody, because I, for example, worked really hard to stand out and to make sure I don't imitate anybody. And so it sucks when like we spend so much time doing this and then the idea is just like with somebody else as well. So make it your
Right.
own. We need more of you in this world. We don't need more Flurs or more Angelinas. We need more of like individuals and them really like showcasing their art and their beauty. And so I think that's beautiful. And that's part of our motto, like unique people, unique flowers for unique people, but everybody's unique. What I like may not be what you like, Yvonne. And so it's
Right.
like, do like open something that's like you love, because there is someone out there that will love it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially in this industry, the people that are in it, it's because they have this creativity, the passion for being creative. And so, it's, being more inspired than, wanting to like
Yeah.
imitate, just being
That's
inspired by other people. And yeah, like what you were
exactly.
saying, just how do you make it your own and figuring that out, I think is great.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Inspiring is a good word.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we had your third video go live yesterday.
Mhm.
That's amazing, guys. And again, I'll post the link for you guys and check it out after our live. But it's all about paper wraps and something we've never covered in our Design Star series. And we honestly were like, Ali and I find it super fascinating. My whole team like loves it. So can you
Okay.
tell us a little bit more about the role that these bouquet wraps play in your business?
Yeah, yeah. So as I mentioned, like Europe had a really big impact on the Fleur in general, and so wrapping is like our most prized possession. It's like kind of like the secret ingredient, but everybody can see the secret ingredient in a way.
Right, right.
But it's like the single most thing that makes us stand out in Seattle. There are like freelance florists and like online florists that do similar wrapping, but there isn't like a store that does. Like you can walk in and just get a wrapped bouquet. It's usually like custom or like custom ordered or online Instagram ordered. So that already makes us stand out on its own. Like if I just did that, we would probably stand out just like that.
Right.
But the wrapping just as I said in the video, it's like you're wearing an outfit, right? I'm wearing an outfit and it's like I got my shirt on, my pants on, a coat, and then my shoes. But if I put on some earrings or if I put on a little bit of lipstick or a necklace or a bracelet, I mean, even shoes as an accessory or a purse, all of a sudden the outfit looks enhanced. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of what I like to teach with our bouquets, teach or encourage. Like the bouquet is beautiful on its own and it can just be tied with ribbon, but when you add the paper, it's like you're adding extra stems to this bouquet and then it makes it look, well, first of all, bigger. It makes it look way bigger than it is because there's so much paper. Well, not so much, but enough to make it like a bigger arrangement. Instead of
Right.
like using greenery, we use that paper to like fill in that void and fill in that space. And then on top of that, like I just love the texture. So as I talked about our wrapping recipe, we do newspaper, then we do a texture, and then we do the Korean sheet paper. And so the texture is like my favorite part because it just adds like almost like that unique texture, kind of like we do in a floral recipe. Like you add a texture to like a wedding bouquet or like a bouquet in general, and it just makes the bouquet look extra special. That's the same thing with like wrapping. Like if we add lace, it just looks so elegant and so romantic. And then if we add honeycomb, it looks more modern. And then if we add what else do we have? Trying to like remember what we have. Anything we add, it always just enhances that look. So whether it's romantic or whimsical or modern, we have that texture to like complete that look. And that's like one of my favorite things to do is to do the textures. Um, but yeah, it's basically an accessory. We like have fun with it. I always, if you are starting new with wrapping, I encourage. I mean, I put so many tips on the blog, honestly, but I
Right.
encourage just like going on Pinterest again, finding this is what I do for my interns. I have interns at Flur, and I literally was like, go home, go on Pinterest, find 3 bouquets you want to make next week, come back next week, substitute the flowers that are in the photo for whatever we have in store, and make that bouquet. And they literally make it because they have like this image that they're following. And that's how
Mhm.
like they learned to like start wrapping like in a more unique way or using flowers in a more unique way. And so that really helps. Like it really helps when you look and get inspired like we talked about in the previous question. Like you get inspired and then you make it your own because we didn't go out and we didn't take that Pinterest photo and we bought every single thing that was in the photo. No, we went to Fleur. We as in my interns, we went to Fleur, we saw what flower selection we had, we substituted, and then we used the paper we had to kind of match that look, but it still was a Fleur look. And
Right.
so, yeah, wrapping is like a big deal in our house. It's like one of our prized possessions, and we have fun with it. Some usually we struggle with it, and you'll hear like a little bit of a grunt when people are wrapping.
Right.
But eventually, it becomes like this fun aspect where you can get pretty creative because you can like bend them and fold them in fun ways, whereas flowers you can't bend them or fold them in any way.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned like that you use a certain kind of paper. I just went blank.
Korean floral sheet paper.
Korean. Yes, I almost
Yes.
said a different country. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew it wasn't right.
Well, yeah,
So the
that's what they're
Korean
called.
paper, and you mentioned
Yes.
that it's waterproof. Is that why you
Yes.
use that paper?
Yes, yeah. So at first, when I opened Fleur, I was gonna just do craft because that's what I did for all of my pop-ups that I did at like coffee shops and like other places. But then when I learned that they're waterproof, I was like, duh. Like that's an easy like transition. It was hard to learn to use the Korean paper because craft paper is so much more rough, so it's a little bit easier, but also harder
Mhm.
to use. Whereas Korean wrapping paper, it's like very flimsy. So it was at first hard to like figure out how to fold this without like letting it just like slide out. Um, but yeah, that's what we use, and it is waterproof, which actually makes like when you buy the bouquet and you'd bring it home and like the bottom of the paper is like all gross and soggy. We don't have that
Right.
issue because we have the waterproof paper. And I think that also like ties it into the like luxurious presentation of the bouquet.
Yeah.
Not that if you use any other paper and you're a florist out there, you're not luxurious. I'm just saying it just has that feel to it.
Right. Yeah. And we did get a couple of questions about the paper. Someone
Yes.
wanted to know if you could share where you source your paper from.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, Chamelia Supply they just launched this paper collection, I think last year. They have craft paper, textured paper, and they have the Korean waterproof paper. I think they just call it foggy waterproof paper. I don't know if you need a wholesaler account for it, but outside of that, there's always some on Amazon. Sometimes if I really need some like tomorrow, I will order some on Amazon. But yeah, you just type in Korean floral sheet or waterproof floral wrapping paper.
Thank you. And
Mhm.
then someone was wondering about, like, I saw a question about, someone was concerned like the flowers are going to wilt because they're not in water. And then we also had someone ask about, like, do you do wet packing on your bouquets?
Oh, yes. So actually, I think we're posting a bonus content video today or
Yes,
tomorrow.
today.
In that bonus content video, I actually show how the customer receives the bouquet. So they receive it in our bag. And then when they take out the bouquet, so we do a paper towel, we wet it, and then we put the plastic, the ones you see in grocery stores, like the plastic flower
Right.
bags. And
Hmm.
then we can rubber band it. We usually don't because it holds on pretty well, but we just scrunch it up and then put a little bit more water. And then we tell them, hey, this will last for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but make sure you put it in water when you get home. So that's what we tell all of our customers. Yeah.
I love it. That's great. Great
Hmm.
tips. I just
Hmm.
had a question come through from a fairy on the weekend on YouTube. Um, they want to know, what part of working at Fleur do you love the most?
Mm, oh my gosh. I feel like everything is my favorite, but I gotta say wrapping is, like, my favorite. I think just, like, arranging a bouquet, like a designer's choice bouquet, and using, like, really, like, seasonal pieces, and then just making, like, this beautiful wrapped bouquet that you can display and hopefully goes to somebody's house and they love it.
Yes,
I think
love
that would be
it.
my favorite part, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Angelina, you work really closely with your sales rep at Mayesh. We talked a lot about
Yes.
that when we first were getting to know each other.
Yes.
And you also mentioned it as like kind of part of your branding as well. So can you talk
Yeah.
about your relationship with her and the different strategies you two have come up to for her, just to keep up with your ordering process to make it efficient and consistent?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I love Sam. Shout out to Sam. She
Yeah.
is the behind the scenes of Flur, I swear. This girl, I just like Fleur I would not be alive if it wasn't for her. Like she's like that front end person that just knows my brand so well. She'll be like, I think they get shipment on Sunday. Sometimes she'll see something funky and she'll be like, oh my God, this came in. Do you want it? It's so Fleur. And like having a sales rep who knows like what flowers you want at your store is like so special. Not only special, but I don't have to like try and go out there and find unique pieces. I know that Sam is there at the front end and she gets to see these pieces more than I do. And I know that she'll pull something for me. So like if I'm ever not able to go pick up the flowers, or if we're doing a delivery, I'm like, hey, can you do like a seasonal pull, or can you do like a Mayesh pull of like pinks and whites? I trust that she will pull what I would pull. Because there's so many options and sometimes they don't fit with our branding or flower selection, but she just gets it. So that's something that I absolutely love about her, and she saves my life every single week, week in and week out. She's like my savior.
Aw.
But as far as like efficiency and consistency, I'm OCD, so I don't know if Sam is. I don't think Sam is as OCD as me, but maybe she is. Maybe that's why we work well together. But I like created a standing for each season, so we both have like a PDF where it says like, this is what we want starting from March to June. This is what I want in my store from June to September. This is what I want. Like literally, I just texted her last week and I was like, when is cotton candy hydrangea coming in and spirea and dahlias? And she's like, this day, this day, this day. And I'm like, okay, the moment they arrive, I want them on my standing in my seasonal. And she's like, I got you. So it's like, she knows that like every season we have like the same type of flowers, but we also have like those seasonal pulls. And so I strongly, strongly encourage doing a standing order, like especially the Alexandra like standing garden roses. Like that's a
Right.
deal. You
Yes.
get like 6 months of garden roses for like, it's crazy. And like I know that I have these flowers in these colors every week. So when customers order, I already know I have these colors in the store, and I already like I can't say no to the order because I know I have these flowers. And then if they order something like purple, then I can be like, okay, hey Sam, like, can you grab something purple for me this week? So it's, yeah, it's like almost like a personal assistant, but not really.
Yeah. I love it.
So yeah, I highly encourage building a relationship with your sales rep as much as you can, because it does help you a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. So you mentioned very, very early when we first started talking that you made some mistakes that you would have changed. So if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, or several pieces for that matter, when you all started this,
Yeah.
what would that be?
Yeah, I actually recently shared this on Instagram too. I did like a little post that says like three things I would do if I would to start over. So if you did want to see those tips, you can go read it on there. But I think the number one tip would be like really discover your niche and style, like that funnel branding process before you open. So that when you open, you're not like spending time and money on all these extra materials and supplies. Like I have so much craft paper and vases that we don't use because they don't align with our brand anymore. And I'm like, man, I wish I knew for sure this is what I wanted. So that way I didn't like, kind of blow with the wind and like do whatever. But again, of course, that comes with time. And so, like, Fleur has evolved, and observing customers and what they're attracted to also has evolved. And so that also helps. But as much, try to like have your brand and niche and style as much as you can, and just like pick. I think I said this in every video. Pick a few like colors, a few like paper supplies and packagings, a few options of each instead of like the colors of the rainbow, which is what I did. And I have so
Right.
much paper that like none of us use because it just doesn't like match our brand. And so
Right.
if I knew my brand early on, it just would have saved me so much money and time. And so I think that would be the biggest thing I would recommend. And then obviously other ones like making sure you got like the pricing math down, making sure you know how to work with your sales rep, what flowers are in season, like all that other stuff also matters. Social media presence, but the niche and the style and the branding is like number one, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah.
Very good. I love it. So what are you going to do with all that extra paper?
Yeah, I need to sell it. Or like if someone is in Seattle and is listening to this, DM
Use it.
us.
Yeah. Use
You
it
can
for
have it.
practicing for your
Yeah.
interns.
Oh, that's a good idea too. That's a good idea.
My little baby bulldog just came walking in. Sorry about that.
Oh,
The
you're good.
shuffling, the feet shuffling noise. Let me ask you, I'm just saw this come through. I think this is not legit. Some random customer or custom comment. Okay, not a real comment. It was really long, guys, and I'll remove that once I'm done here. But
That's funny. I
okay,
think I see it too here.
yeah. Okay. So what's next with Fleur? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, well, right now we're working on opening our second store, which is still in construction, so we're just kind of waiting on that. But I think I have more. I mean, it's still going to be Fleur, but I think I have more plans for the second location. Like, I want it to be way. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but like literally make it like a Chanel store, but like with flowers. So like really creating that luxury like line of floristry here. Luckily, like it's in Bellevue and it's like in this new strip. So and it's around like more branded stores. But I can either flop it or I can make it look good and luxurious because flowers are messy and you can't always make it look the best. Um, but that's what I hope to do with that. And then other than that, like business wise, I do want to like I think I've learned that I'm really good at teaching and training, and so I would love to do like more master classes or business consulting or something among those lines. So I don't know what that looks like yet, but it's kind of where my head is at. But the focus is just the second store. So
I love
yeah,
it. So
yeah,
exciting. I
it
so
is.
appreciate you coming on here and just
Of
sharing and can just
course.
feel your passion kind of through the video, which is amazing. And I don't know if you have any last thoughts before we wrap up, but I just wanted to thank you so much for everything that you put into Mayesh Design Star. Just with that focus on retail flower shop, it's just nice to like have someone that's like so passionate about it, and willing to share, because that part can be scary. And also like, I feel like some people feel like when they're sharing how they do their business, right, they're kind of giving away all their secrets. And so
Yeah,
thank you for being brave and sharing some of those secrets with us and our
yeah.
community.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you and to Ali and to Mayesh for just this honor. I would have never imagined it would have been on here, which is literally crazy that Fleur has brought me here. But thank you so much for this opportunity. It was so much fun making like the PDFs and the tips and the tricks and like thinking back and being like, wow, this is what it took to create this. And so that was really like inspiring for myself even. But yeah, I think I did wanna mention, like, there isn't a lot out there on retail forestry, and I think we talked about this in my first, like, initial interview,
Right.
and I remember when I was first starting, there was nothing, like, I couldn't find anything on business or storefront or retail, and then if I reached out to any retail store owners, they just would gatekeep or not
Right.
share their secrets, and so I really want to help, like retail florists because I don't know, like there's so much information out there on weddings, but nothing on retail design. And so like I really wanted to help kind of that community and that area of people. And so, if you do need help or if you have questions, like feel free to reach out to us. Like I would love to help. And yeah,
I love it. I love it. I did have another question come through from Fairy in the
yeah.
Weekend. They asked, is the second store, is that just another location or another line of branding?
Oh yeah, so Fleur Kirkland right now, that's where our first one is. It's like a studio plus coffee shop plus flower shop. Whereas the second location is just gonna be flowers. So it's just gonna be like literally like you come in to shop for clothes at like a Gucci store, it would be like that except for like flowers. Like the flowers will be
Right.
ready to go. We're gonna do like a really heavy monochromatic look. So there will be like monochromatic collections throughout. And they will be in different price points, different sizes, and then in a vase and wrapped. So people can come in and then like it's made and they just pick what they want and they can leave. Obviously, we'll do custom orders as well. But yeah, it's not an I wouldn't say it's I mean, it is another line of branding because Fleur Studio will be the Kirkland one. It'll have that studio part versus the Bellevue one will just have Fleur. And that's kind of why branding was also important to me because I was thinking for the future of Fleur, like I want to be able to create different types of stores or different types of businesses of Fleur. So that's why branding is important. Like it'd be cool to have like just a Fleur coffee shop or just a Fleur flower shop or just a Fleur venue. Whereas the Kirkland one I have right now, it has all of those together. So that's another reason like branding is important. If you're wanting to like open more than one, like really, really think about your branding.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Awesome. So, guys, would love for you guys to connect with Angelina. Her Instagram handle is fleurstudio.co. I also have it posted in the comments. So be sure to connect with her and stay tuned because it sounds like she has some exciting plans in her future. And again, thank you so much, Angelina. And guys, I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that I will be back in 3 weeks on March 27th for our next live. David Dawson's going to be back with me, but this time he isn't bringing flowers, which I know you all love, but we're going to be discussing Constance Spry, the revolutionary floral designer. I feel like she's kind of like the fairy godmother of floristry. So we're going to talk about her and kind of the path that she set ablaze back in her day and how it really influenced who we are today as an industry. So be sure you come back and check that out. And I just wanted to thank you for spending the last hour with us. I really appreciate your time and support. And if you share this with your flower friends, I would be forever grateful. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.